static IP. Okay, okay. So what I'll do is we like understand this is you, right? Or this is me. Okay, and this is a virtual environment that AWS has provided. Virtual environment that AWS has provided us. Okay. And now if AWS has created a virtual environment, so he might be having some of the hardware at his data center. So these are some of the hardware. No, Ravi, tenancy is not rent basically. Uh, okay. So let's say I am launching 10 EC2 instances. Okay. I am let's say I'm launching 10 EC2 instances. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll request AWS to launch 10 EC2 instances for me in his in their virtual environment. So what they'll do, they'll take the space for me to create a EC2 instance, right? They'll save a space for me to create my EC2 instances. Now, like I want that my EC2 instances, all my EC2 instances should be at one place, right? Like if I have not selected dedicated tenancy, so what AWS will do? AWS will like automatically divide my instances into different hardware, right? My two instances in this one, my two instances in this one, two in this, two in this. So like this way, what AWS will do? AWS will divide or will separate all my EC2 instances at different places. So in that way, AWS can what Amazon can do? Amazon can save their space and will not be having any difference in that. But I want a dedicated tenancy. Like what is dedicated tenancy? So I want all my EC2 instances to be all together, to be in one place. So then I'll select a dedicated tenancy, right? But I don't want any dedicated tenancy. I just want to create 10 EC2 instances. I don't want to know what AWS is doing with that instance, how he's managing, how he's doing. So that is shared tenancy. So what comes under shared tenancy? AWS will share all my EC2 instances with all its up running hardware. So my EC2 instance will my some EC2 instance will be in some hardware, some in this, some in this, some in this. So this is shared tenancy. But if I select dedicated tenancy, so AWS will allocate one proper hardware to me, and all my instances will be in that particular hardware only, and no one else will be accessible to that hardware, because I have selected dedicated tenancy. So that is tenancy. Have you guys understood? Okay, so I'll quickly erase this. I'll 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 put a diagram for tenancy in this my whiteboard. So in future, if you guys want, I'll show you again. So now for the current situation, I don't want any dedicated tenancy, right? Because if you select dedicated tenancy, so AWS will charge you something because you are asking him to put some of the server or some of the hardware for you separately, right? So you guys can see here. So guys can see here we have three different type of tenancies, right? Shared, run a shared hardware instance, dedicated, run a dedicated instance, or dedicated host, launch an instance on a dedicated host. So what I said, the dedicated host will create a dedicated host. Host will be completely dedicated towards our instance. So that is a dedicated host. I don't want any dedicated host, or I don't want any dedicated hardware. So I'll select shared and run a shared hardware instance. Because if I'll select a dedicated tenancy, or I'll select a dedicated host, AWS will definitely charge me some or the other way. So I have selected shared and run hardware instance. Okay, now now we have advanced details. No, tenancy does not affect any of the AWS users' performance. Tenancy, what is tenancy? Tenancy, we can inform AWS that if we are selecting dedicated tenancy, so we want AWS to save some or the other place for us, so that we can launch our instance in that space. But if we'll select the shared tenancy, what AWS will do? AWS will automatically, or by default, the algorithm which AWS is running, that algorithm will automatically by default launch our instances in any of the other servers, right? In any or the other hardware that they are having. But if we'll select a dedicated tenancy, so they'll save, or they'll put some or the other space for us. So that is tenancy. Tenancy does not affect any of the user performance. So here we have advanced detail, right? So basically we can all the metadata and all the information regarding metadata and all is accessible to us here. If we want any basic configuration that we want, uh, if you are creating an instance, and if you want some of the basic configuration on your instance as soon as you launch the instance, so you can just simply write that configuration here, or you can simply add that file of that configuration here. So that file, or that configuration which you have written here, will act as a metadata and will be automatically configured on to your instance as soon as you launch it. So this is for that purpose. Now we'll
one quick question. For
yeah.
tenancy, in case see, if you select shared, if they keep on
Yeah.
if they install our instance on the lesser hardware, when we are computing the data, it definitely it will have the impact, right? Performance impact.
Pardon, your voice break. Pardon?
Okay. So if the instance, see, if I select shared one,
Yeah.
if the instance was launched on the lesser hardware, whenever it's available, wherever it's available, the space, it will install
Mm-hmm.
the lesser hardware place. When I'm
Mm-hmm.
processing the data by using the hardware, definitely it will
Mm-hmm.
have the impact, right? My resource will be less.
No, nothing. Like tenancy is if you have a company, if you have an organization, like understand it within this way. If you have a big company, right? So you'll need much more instances. Like you'll need 100 instances, you'll need 50 instances. So tenancy plays role in that way, right? If you'll need 50 instances at one time, so then you will select dedicated tenancy. So all your 50 instances will be all together. Otherwise it does not have any issue with your hardware, your configuration. It does not have any issue with that. Tenancy is just a thing which AWS is asked us. You want a shared tenancy. Shared tenancy is our EC2 instances will be shared with other EC2 instances, like will be shared in a hardware where all other EC2 instances are there. But if we want a dedicated tenancy, so AWS will provide us a particular hardware. In that hardware only, all our EC2 instances will be launched. So tenancy plays a role in this way. It will not affect any of your configuration or any of your hardware and anything.
But if I keep in dedicated host, maybe if I keep in dedicated host in same availability zone, but if I go for shared, wherever the space is available, it will go on sit. Might be in some
No,
other
no, no,
availability
no.
zone.
No. If you are selecting a particular availability zone, right?
Mm.
If you are selecting a particular availability zone, so your instance will be launched in that availability zone only. But what hardware or which data center is there in that availability zone? So the tenancy part is for the data center in a particular availability zone. Tenancy is not something related to availability zones and region and all. Tenancy is
Okay.
if you are selecting a particular availability zone, so all the things that you are doing on your instance will be in that availability zone only. But the thing is, the hardware in sorry, the data center in that availability zone, if you have select the shared tenancy, so your instance will be shared with some of the other instances that are already launched in that data center. But if you have selected a dedicated tenancy, so AWS will provide you a particular or a dedicated hardware in that data center so that you can launch multiple instances with the dedicated tenancy in that data center. It will not affect you in any or other way with availability zone or region and all.
Okay, so there won't be any issues with the hardware also, something like say
No,
dedicated
no,
host.
you
If I sorry,
you'll
proceed,
not have
proceed.
any issue with, like, understand. Okay, I'll draw one once more. Understand, this is availability. This is one availability zone, and this is one another availability zone. Right? You have some hardware here, and you have some hardware here. Basically, data center, right? And this is you, and you have selected this availability zone. So whatever you do, like tenancy and configuration, that will be done in this availability zone only. This data centers only. It will not go into this one. It will not do anything in other availability zone. It will only be done in that availability zone, that particular availability zone only. Okay,
Okay.
I'll remove it just a minute, then we'll continue. Look at user size. Okay, so I think now tenancy, like any doubts regarding tenancy, I don't think there should be any doubt. If then please ask. Now we'll move on to storage. So for a Windows instance, AWS automatically select a root volume of 30 GB. Like this Windows image require minimum storage of 30 GB, so AWS has selected that. And if you want to add another storage, so you can add multiple storage here. EBS volume, AWS will provide you EBS volume. You can also create like select the snapshots. Like if you want to add a snapshot in your particular instance, right? So you just need to click on this, and then you need to select which snapshot you want in your EC2 instance. So you can select the snapshots as well. You can mention the size here. If I want 50 GB extra, so I can go with 50 GB extra, but I'll go with 30 GB by default one. Now this thing, I said you guys the EBS volume do not get terminated on deletion. So for that purpose, you need to remove this check mark. Because if you do not remove this check mark, you guys can read delete on termination. So your root volume will deleted. But if you guys will remove this check mark, so this root volume of 30 GB will not be deleted after you terminate your instance. So I don't have any work, or I don't have any purpose of storing this EBS volume after termination of my sequence. So I'll not remove this checkmark. But if you want your EBS volume or your volume to be with you after you terminate your instance, so you can remove this checkmark. Then we'll move on to next. We have here we have tag. So in the tag section, as yesterday also I have told you, you can add a name, email, and job description and all. So I'll just enter the name here. Okay, test EC2. I've given the name for my EC2 instance, test EC2. Then we'll go next on to configuration security group. So what is security group? So basically, in general or in like normal way, we can say every computer or every PC has a firewall, right? So security works as a firewall for our EC2 instance. So we can select which port or like which port we want. Uh, we can allow certain ports. Like if we'll select some certain port, so our EC2 instance will only be accessible through that ports only. Otherwise, uh, so I can select AWS has provided us multiple ports like all TCP, all UDP, ICMP, SSH, SMTP, DNS UDP, DNS PCP, HTTP. Okay. POP3, IMAP, LDAP, HTTPS, SMB, SMTP, various types of ports that AWS, all the ports that are there in the current world, AWS has provided us. So you can select the particular port if you want ICMP, IPv4. So you can select that. Then we have source. So if you want to give a particular source, like if you want your EC2 instance is accessible through only a particular IP address, so you can select my IP and you can enter that IP. It has automatically selected, so it will only accessible through this IP. If you want anyone can access your instance, so you can select anyone and you have to write 0.0.0.0. That means anyone can access your instance. Or if you have created a security group, like if you have created security group before, so you can also select that security groups by going into select an existing security group. So here we have various security groups. So we have default security group. When you create a VPC, you get a default security group with that VPC. So I'll go with default security group, or I can create my security group as well. I'll be creating my security group later on through a security group portal. So I'll show you there. Now we'll go click on to review and launch. So now we have completed all the configuration of our EC2 instance. We can review what we have done. We have selected T2 Micron. Uh, we have virtual CPU. We have 1 GB of RAM. Instance storage EBS. Security group. Which security group we have created. Instance detail. What we have done on instance. Storage detail and tag detail. So here we can see all. We can review all the details, all the configuration that we have done. And if we want to edit some configuration or some detail, you can directly edit from here also. Then we'll click on launch. Now, because security is the major concern in cloud computing, so AWS has provided us a key pair to secure our EC2 instance. Right, you guys have a username and password for your real machine. Like that only, AWS has provided us the key pair. So you can create your own key pair and you can also select the already existing key pair. So I'll show you, I'll create a new key pair. I'll click on to create new key pair. And then, yeah, one more thing. Key pair is region, like key pair is region basis. Like if you are in North Virginia, so all the key pairs that are there in your North Virginia region will only be accessible to you. Okay. So key pair is a region basis. A key pair is not global. So I'm creating a new key pair. I'll enter the name test EC2 key pair. So I have created many key pairs. Then I'll download this key pair. So I'll download this key pair. I've downloaded. Now I'll launch my machine. So you guys can see my machine is now my machine is in pending state. So I have told you what is pending state of AWS, like this machine is gathering or collecting all the information which I have asked for my machine. So it is pending. As soon as it gets into running, I'll show you how we can get connected to our instance. Till then we will see other configuration. So here at the bottom we have got description of our machine, our instance ID, our instance state. Now it is in running state. we'll wait till the status check gets completed. Then we'll connect. Because after the status check gets completed, then only will access our key pair. We can see instance type. We can see private DNS. We can see private IP. We can see VPC ID, which VPC we have connected, which VPC we have launched our instance. We can see subnet ID. We can see public DNS, public IP address. If you have created an elastic IP and you have like allocated an elastic IP to your instance, then that elastic IP will be visible to you. Which availability zone, in which availability zone your instance is launched. What is AMI ID? Any scheduled event you have created, security group, every detail you can see here. Then we have status check. So status check is basically initializing now. Then we can move on to monitoring section. So here you guys can see what you have done, like what was the disk CPU utilization, disk read operations, disk write operations, network in or network out operations, packet in or packet out operations, status failed, status check failed, or status check pass operations. So you can monitor each and everything that each and every logs or each and everything that your instance, how your instance will behave. Then in tag section, you can add more tags. So we'll wait till our status check gets completed. Because if status check does not get completed, we cannot connect to our machine. Because okay, so now we can now I show you how we can connect to our EC2 instance. So we can connect to our EC2 instance in multiple ways. Right, we can connect to our EC2 instance through our remote desktop, like which our machine provides us. Windows provides us RDP and all. So we can connect through that. Linux provides us SSH. So we can connect to our instance in multiple ways. I use third-party applications, like I use MobiX application. I'll show you. That is MobiXM. This application is like I feel this application is the third-party application. This is much more easier to use. So what we'll do is we'll just select our EC2 instance, then we'll just click on connect. Here you guys can see we have public DNS, because without public DNS you cannot connect to our public IP or public DNS. You cannot connect to our instance. We have got username. So for every Windows instance, the username is by default administrator. Now we'll get our password through the key pair which we have created. So we'll click on get password. Now you guys can see it is showing me the key name is test EC2 key pair. I created this key pair, right? So I'll choose my file, test EC2 key pair. I'll open it and then I'll decrypt my password. So you guys can see I've got my password. Yeah, but one thing you guys should understand: this password will not be same for each and every login, right? This password gets changed after for each and every login. So you guys need to be aware of that. I'll copy. Okay, so before I'll copy my password, what I'll do, I'll copy my public DNS, because without public DNS I cannot connect to my EC2 instance. So I'll collect my public DNS, copy it. I'll create a new session. If you have already created a previous session, so you can recover your previous session here. I'll create a new session. Now you guys can see MobiXM provides us various types of session like SSH, Telnet, RSH, XDEM, XDMCP, RDP, VNC, FTP, SFTP, serial, various types of connection MobiXM provides. So we want RDP. RDP is remote desktop. So in the remote host, we'll directly paste our public DNS, and we have username here. So we'll copy this username. Then we'll enter the username here. Then we'll copy the password. So after entering the username, you guys just need to click on OK. It will ask you for the password. I've copied my password. Okay. So you guys can see I am connected to my instance. It is now connected. Okay, wait. There might be some or the other issue. I'll delete my previous created instance. So I am having some of the other issue with my remote desktop, like my remote desktop which I have in my PC. So that's why I'm using the third party application. Now it should connect my instance. Okay, so I might be my PC might be having some or the other issue with the remote desktop. I'll fix it. I think guys have understood how we can create and connect to our EC2 instances. I'll see what is the issue with my remote desktop, and I assure you by tomorrow I'll fix that so that we can also see how we can work in a particular instance. Now I'll show you quickly. I'll show you how you can install a Linux instance because major most of the major part of the world uses Linux because that is much more secure. So we'll directly launch an instance. We'll select an Linux instance. Is there any? Okay, no, just a minute. Frank has asked something. Yeah, basically, the thing is, when you remove the delete on termination check, like when you uncheck that part, delete on termination, so like that EBS volume which you are creating with your EC2 instance, right? So that does not get deleted. But when you select the delete on termination, like I have selected delete on termination, right? So I'll show you after terminating my instance, I'll show you how my EBS volume, which is associated with my EC2 instance, Windows EC2 instance, will also get deleted. I'll show you that also. Okay, so I was showing how we can create Linux instance. So we'll select any of the Linux instance. I'll select this one, Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Now I'll go with this free tier one. Now, I think all this thing must be, you guys must be aware of all this thing because I have explained each and everything in detail during the Windows instance installation. There is nothing different in all of these things. All these things are same. You guys just need to select Linux instance instead of Windows instance. Then we'll go to add storage. Now, you guys can see for Windows instance, Amazon has provided us 30 GB of storage, and for the next instance, Amazon has provided us 8 GB because 8 GB is much more sufficient for our Linux instance to launch. Now, for you guys, what I'll do is I'll remove this checkmark. So we'll also see after removing this checkmark how EBS volume do not get deleted, right? So you guys, so I've removed this checkmark. So As per now, as per I have explained, this previous volume will not get deleted after termination. So now we'll move next. I will just add a name tag, ec2@linux. Then we'll go to security group. I'll select our default security group. Everything is same. You guys just need to make sure that you select a proper instance type and you select a proper AMI, and everything remains the same during instance creation. Now I have already created a key pair, right? So I'll go with existing key pair. Now okay. So I've created this test EC2 key pair. I'm selecting this key pair. Now I acknowledge and then I launch instance. So you guys can see my EC2 Linux instance is in pending state. Okay, so what we do till then, I'll show you. If I terminate this my Windows instance, my EBS volume will also get terminated. First, I'll show you my EBS volume. You guys can see we have two EBS volume, EC2 Linux and test EC2, right? So test EC2 is with my uh, okay. You guys can see my instance ID. So test EC2 is with my this instance, and Linux at the rate is my is attached with my this instance. So uh, till our AMI gets status check completed, I'll show you if I'll terminate my Windows instance. So how you guys can terminate? You guys just need to select the instance, go into action. Now again, first before termination, I'll explain you everything what comes under action. So in the instance state, you can stop your instance, you can reboot your instance, you can terminate your instance. Stop means you guys are stopping the instance, and then you'll use that instance in future. Reboot means you guys should know what is reboot, and terminate means if you guys don't want that instance for your future use, you guys are deleting that instance. So okay, before termination, I'll show you setting. So we have also got instance setting. So I can add and edit my tag. I can also attach my EC2 instance to an auto scaling group after launching it. I can attach or replace any IAM role. I can change termination policy, like I've selected termination policy. Na? I can change shutdown behavior. I can see system logs. I can also get my system screenshot. So these are some of the things. Now comes the major part. How you can create a custom AMI or your AMI with your created instance. So you can see here we have AMI. Just need to click on create AMI. You guys need to enter the name. So I am giving the name EC2 AMI EC2. If you want to give the description, you can give. If you want your AMI to reboot after as soon as you launch it, so you guys can uh, leave this. But if you don't want your AMI to reboot after as soon as you launch an instance with your AMI, so you guys can click this. Then you guys can also add new volumes with your AMI, and then you need to click on create AMI. So your AMI request is received. We go on to AMI. You guys can see I've created my AMI. It is in pending state. Visibility is private because AMI, I've created the AMI, so AMI is not public, AMI is private. It will come in my AMI section. AMI platform is Windows. AMI root device is EBS, and virtualization is HVM. So my AMI is in pending state. Till then, okay. So our Linux instance is also in running state, right? I'll see if anyone have wrote something in the chat. Okay, no one has wrote nothing. So we have also created our Linux instance. Till our AMI gets all its status check completed, we'll see how we can connect to our EC2 instance, Linux instance. So I think it. Uh, yeah, so you can connect to your Linux instance also in multiple ways. Like you can use PuTTY, You can also use like the application which I am using. Currently, I am having some problem with my remote connectivity in my like real machine, so it is not connecting to the virtual machine. So I'll try to connect my Linux instance also. So what I'll do is I'll select. Yeah. Also, there is one more way. You can directly connect your EC2 instance, Linux instance. So what you need to do is you need to select your Linux instance. You need to click on connect, and you have EC2 instance connect browser-based SSH connection. So what AWS will do? AWS will directly automatically connect your EC2 instance through browser. I've selected that. And every Linux instance, the username of every Linux instance is EC2 user. So I'll just connect it. So it is connecting. So as I can see, all the processing work is going on behind. This way you can connect to your EC2 instance directly through a web browser. We'll wait till all the other configuration has completed. So this way you can connect to your EC2 Linux instance. Then whatever the configuration that you want on your instance after creation, you can do that. Okay. So I think this might be clear to everyone. Uh, is anyone having any doubt regarding instance launching or connecting instances? Write in the chat box, please. I'm having some issue with my remote desktop service on my PC. I'll fix it out, and tomorrow I'll show you guys how we can use instance after connecting to it. And if possible, I'll also show you. I'll also create a small server on my instance so that you guys can understand. Anyone having any doubt regarding the launching the instance or any security group or any tenancy, any storage and anything, AMI? Anyone having any doubt?
Nishit, look at here. So you are created some AMI, right?
Yeah.
Can you show that actually?
Just a minute. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Okay. So here you can see we have images, right? So okay. So guys can see my AMI is now available.
So from this AMI, can I
Yeah, you can launch an instance. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can select this AMI, right? Then you can select launch. Then you have to do all the same work that we are doing for launching an instance, right? So this way you can launch an instance with your own created AMI.
So what is the advantage of doing directly from instance and directly from AMI?
No, there is it is not about advantage and all. Understand, if you have launched an instance, right, and you have made some of the configuration, or you have, or if you want, AMI, we use AMI to import the on-premise virtual machine to our AWS. I'll show you that practical also tomorrow. I'll set up all the CLI mode and all about of AWS. So I'll show you that also. So basically, what we can do is we can we have created our own custom AMI. We can also create EC2 image builder. You can see EC2 image builder. We can also create our own AMI by our own, right? So it only helps us to launch instance which is preferred to our configuration. What we want, I prefer to use the instance I want some particular configuration on my instance. So I can do that configuration I can create my AMI with that configuration, and I can launch my AMI. So that is advantage of launching an instance with your AMI.
Okay, something like in AMI, when I'm creating, can I select the hardware things also?
Auto scaling?
No, hardware related things. No, right?
Hardware which hardware you are talking about, like on-premise or AWS?
On-premise one?
Yeah. So what you can do is see, if you have created a virtual machine on your PC, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a PC and you have created a virtual machine, like you have created a virtual machine for Red Hat or for Windows Server like 2019 and all. And if you
Yeah.
want that virtual machine, if you want that virtual machine to be on your AWS account instead of creating virtual machine on your PC, right? You can create virtual machine on your AWS account as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have created a virtual machine on your PC, you have done some configuration, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you can take a snapshot of that configuration, that virtual machine which you have done the configuration, and then with that snapshot and AMIs, you can bring your on premises virtual machine to your AWS instance.
Okay.
Okay, is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've created an AMI and I can launch an instance with my created AMI. I have various actions also, like I can spot request. Spot request is basically spot instance. I can deregister this AMI. I can register new AMI as well. Copy this AMI. Like if I want to give this AMI to someone else, like I want to export this AMI, so I can copy this AMI and export it. Modify AMI permissions. So I can modify my permissions as well. And I have got EC2 image builder. So what EC2 image builder is? EC2 image builder is nothing but we can create our own AMI with our own configuration without creating AMI from already created instance. We can also create our own AMI with our own configuration. So I'll just deregister this AMI because I don't need this AMI for now. So I've deregistered it. So as I've deregistered, this AMI is gone. Now okay, so I'll show you what happen if I delete or if I terminate my Windows instance. So I have terminated my Windows instance. Okay, yes, terminate. So you guys can see my Windows instance is now terminating, shutting it down, and then it will terminate. So currently it is not terminated. So my volume is not like my volume is up and running. But as soon as my instance is terminated, my volume will also get terminated. Okay, it is terminated now. Now it will take like span of, okay, so you guys can see my volume which was associated with my Windows instance is also terminated because I have not unchecked the delete on termination remark. So you guys got that. But if I have removed the check or unchecked that delete on termination remark, so my EVS volume would not get deleted after termination of EC2 instance. Okay, so we have terminated our Windows instance. Now we have like our Linux instance up and running. So I think you guys must have understood what we have studied till now. Before moving on further, please let me know if you guys have any problem till now, like regarding anything. So please let me know in the chat box. Otherwise, we'll move on with the security group section.
Only when you say terminate, the EBS volumes will get terminated.
Yeah, if you select or if you check the delete on termination, na, then only your EVS volume will get terminated. But if you uncheck that, then your EVS volume will not get terminated. I'll show you. Na, I've unchecked the
Yeah,
delete on
yeah.
termination in my Linux instance. So if I terminate my Linux instance now, my EVS volume will remain with me. I'll show you that
So
also.
yeah, same thing for like root volumes also, right? Like what default it will come.
Pardon?
Something like you have shown, right? Not EBS volumes, like its own.
Mm-hmm.
When you when you launch the instance, you have some memory, 30 GB something, it will get it, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you have some other data on your other EVS volume, right? Or if you store some data on your EVS volume for your future use. But if you don't want that instance running, so what you can do is see. you can remove the check of delete on termination, so that your EBS volume will remain with you with all the data that is stored in your EBS volume with you for the future use, but your instance will get terminated.
So that EBS volumes I can map it to some
Yeah,
other
you
instance.
can map your EBS volume with multiple instances. Yeah.
Okay. So okay, yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So now I'll show you if I terminate my Linux instance, right? If I'll terminate my Linux instance, what will happen? Okay, so you guys can see I've removed the check of delete on termination. So it is showing me a pop-up. EBS volume which do not have delete on termination. Okay, so here it is asking me if I want to delete my EBS volume with my instance or not. So I'll not do anything. I'll just terminate my instance. My instance is terminating. Now I'll show you how you guys can like attach EBS volume like externally to your already launched instance. So for that I'll quickly launch an instance so that I can show you guys. I'll quickly launch an instance. I've launched another instance. So that on this instance, I'll show you how you guys can attach an EBS volume which is not attached, which is not in your instance. Like I have terminated my EBS EC2 instance, right? So I'll go on to volume. So you guys can see my EC2 Linux volume, which was like associated with my EC2 instance, Linux instance, is now in available state because I have terminated that instance. So my volume, because I've unchecked that delete on termination, my volume does not get deleted, and now it is not in use with any of the instance, so it is now available. So we'll wait till our instance get into running. Okay, our instance is in running state. So what we'll do, we'll go to volume. We'll select the EBS volume which we want to associate with our instance. We'll select action. We'll select attach volume. Now here you'll have to mention like I only have one instance running, right? But if you have 10 instance, 20 instance running, so you guys need to be aware that you select a correct instance. You guys need to make sure that you guys select the correct instance with correct instance ID. So I've selected this instance ID, then I'll select attach. So now this EBS volume is in use with this instance, running instance. Like you guys can see our instance ID 0B572D252. Our instance is, you guys can see 0B572D22527. So now our this EBS volume, which was associated with any other instance, is now connected to our new instance. So this way you can like connect your EBS volume, you can connect your storage with your already running instances.
Nishit,
So is there
sorry,
any doubt?
actually, for me it's disconnected in between. When I reconnect, you have shown by that time that attaching
Okay,
the
okay,
volumes.
okay, you disconnect. Okay, okay, I'll show you again how you can attach volume. Just a minute, huh?
No, the question is like when you have removed the terminated machine, volumes also deleted, right? So from
Yeah,
Elastic Block Store.
like
So how
yeah,
you you are able to recollect that one?
no, if you have like you have forgot to remove like that check, na delete on termination, and if
Hmm.
you have terminated your instance, so your volume will get automatically terminated. But
Yeah.
there was some data and all. So then in that case, you guys can directly like open a case. Case means you guys can directly go on to support with AWS support, and then you can mail them your problem. They'll provide you a full support on all of your problems. In that case, you guys can like go onto AWS support center, and then you guys can mail all your problems. They'll provide you a proper solution. Like this support section is for those guys also. If you are using any, like if you are guys are like in the training part, and if you have like launched any, if you have launched any service, and if you have forgot to terminate or delete that service, so you'll get some charge. So in that case also, you guys can go on to AWS support section. There you guys can mention all your problems. Like if you were like in the training mode, you were created that instance, or you were created that service, launched that service, and forgot to delete that service, and you have not used that service in the between period of like in the between time span. So they'll what they'll do is they'll support you fully, and if possible they'll remove all the charges on you also. But that case uh, occurs when you have not used, like you have not used the service, you forgot to remove that service, and you have not used the service, and in spite of not using the service, you guys get charged. So in that case, you guys can go on to AWS support and ask them, you have not used the service, so they'll remove all the charges. So AWS has provided us the support section, so you guys can go there. So do I show you again how to connect
Yeah,
volume with our instance?
yeah, better it will be very if you can able to show in quick.
Okay. I'll show you. I'll just what I'll do. I'll be attached it. So we were in this position. Okay, look in the is it
Yeah, yeah,
visible now?
yeah, yeah.
So we were in this position before you got disconnected. So what we have done is we have terminated our Linux instance, right? But
Yeah.
we purposely remove the check of delete on termination, right, to see what happens. So after that, the instance got terminated, our volume does not get terminated. It gets into available stage because we have removed the delete on termination check. So now our EBS volume is available. So we can use this EBS volume with any of the instance. So what we need to do
Hmm.
is we need to just select this instance, this EBS volume. Then we need to go on to action. Just need to attach the volume. Then we have to select the instance. Now here, if you will create 10, 20 instances, so multiple instance ID will occur. So you need to be sure that you select the proper instance, right? So I'll select
Yeah.
my instance ID, and then I'll directly attach it. So now my EBS volume is attached with my that instance that I created later on. This one. And you can
Okay.
verify later also, like with the instance ID, like this is instance ID here. You'll go into volume. You can verify that your EBS volume is connected to your instance properly or not. You can see instance ID here also, attachment information. So the instance ID is saved. So
Okay.
our EBS volume is connected properly or correctly.
Okay. In that case, Nishit, like for example, if I terminate my instance, when you check
Hmm.
that checkbox, so my mission instance got terminated, but my EBS volume still it available. It will not be clear the data, right?
No. Data will not get deleted if you remove the check or delete on termination. All the data that you store on your EBS volume, na, if your EBS
Yeah.
volume is with you, all the data in that EBS volume is will be with you.
So it's a termination means just it will detach the EBS volume from that
No.
instance.
Termination means it will delete all the things, like everything which is in EBS volume. But in that case, you need to go on to AWS support section. So they have some kind of scenarios. In that scenario, they assure you that they'll provide all. They'll make sure that 99.9% your data will be recovered. Like so, because they have created a scenario at their data centers, right? The data centers which they have in US and all. So they have created the scenarios there. So
Hmm.
you can just like open a case. Open a case means you can go on to support section and then you can ask them. So they'll make sure that they'll uh, uh, like restore all your data.
Okay, so okay, sir. In that case, termination happened means so machine get terminated, EBS volumes get cleared. Still, if I want to get the data, I can reach out the AWS support center, right?
Yeah, you can go on to AWS support and they'll provide you a full support that they they'll provide you almost full support
Okay, might be
so
there
that you
stored
don't
in the
get disturbed.
snapshots or somewhere. Yeah, and
Yeah,
if I
but I also prefer you to take the snapshots also. Like if you like by mistake if you delete your EBS volume, right? So the
hmm,
snap like you can create a snapshot here. You can see create snapshot. So you can
yeah,
create a snapshot. You can create a snapshot of your EBS volume. So in the case when you like by mistake you delete your EBS volume. So in that case also you have your snapshot. So you can restore your EBS volume.
okay.
So
So
you can secure your data in much more ways. Like when you create an instance, your EBS volume gets created. So by default, a snapshot of that EBS volume is created. But when you delete the EBS volume, the default snapshot of that EBS volume, the default snapshot gets deleted. But if you create a custom, just a minute, if you create a custom snapshot, if you create a custom snapshot of any of the EBS volume, like if I create a custom snapshot, so that snapshot will remain with me. So in that way, I can recover all my data. So I prefer you if you are using the EBS volume for any of the real world project, real life project, any of the real project, real technologies project, and if you are using EBS volume, so make sure that you create a snapshot of each and everything. So in that case, if your instance or if your service gets deleted, you have a backup. So taking a snapshot is like I prefer much to take the snapshots.
so the snapshots also it will work similar to EBS machine, like something like the change delta part only it will get updated like in EBS. Same way, snapshot also get updated.
Yeah,
If I create a,
yeah,
say
yeah.
for example, I have created
If you
EBS.
if you update, yeah, if you update your EBS volume, right? So you
Uh,
can update your snapshot as well. You can create recurring snapshots. Like you can edit the policies of snapshot. I'll show you that also. You can create recurring snapshot in which what happens if you made any changes to your EBS volume, like currently use EBS volume in use EBS volume, so your snapshot will uh, get that configuration thing. Like you must be aware of versioning, right? If we talk
yeah,
about DevOps, you must be aware
correct.
about versioning.
Yeah,
So recurring snapshot is that thing. Like
okay.
it creates all the thing. Like it will store each and everything. So I prefer you to create the snapshot.
So this snapshot also kind of a EBS only, but it's a backup.
Backup, definitely.
Okay. So the payment will be like for both, it will be there. You see, if I created a EBS volume, I'm storing the data in that one, and I created a snapshot. So for the
Mhm.
backup purpose, so the payment will be you need to pay for both, or it will be something like only for EBS.
Okay, so I'll just make you understand. The payment is if you are using any service, right? If you are using any service of Amazon, in which any of the hardware is in use, Amazon's hardware is in use, then only you'll get charged. Like if you are if you have created an instance and your instance is in running state, so you are using the Amazon's hardware. So in that case, you get charged. But if you are you like if your instance is like not in running state, it is stopped. So your hardware is not like you are not using the Amazon's hardware. You have released the hardware when you need you when you start the machine, and it will automatically Amazon will automatically allocate a hardware to you. So whenever you are in running state, then only you will get charged. Make sure that what is your state. If your state is running, then you will get charged. Some or the other way you will get charged. But when your state is not in running, like your state is available and all, like your service or your anything is just what we can say is just there. We are not using them, so you will not get charged for that. I'll
But
also show you one.
but we are storing the data by using EBS, right?
Yeah.
So
So yeah,
for
if you
that
are
one we need to
storing the
pay, right?
data, yeah, no, if you are storing the data and you are using like if you are using little space, so in that case
Okay.
Amazon will not charge you. But if you are using much more space, so in that case Amazon will charge you, because if you are creating a snapshot, so to store that snapshot you'll need a S3 bucket. So for that S3 bucket Amazon will charge you. Like if you are storing if you are using if you are creating a snapshot of much bigger data, right? So for that you need a S3 bucket storage. So for that storage, Amazon will charge you.
Oh, so in that case, like I got a one point when you are explaining.
Mhm.
So we can store EBS volumes as a snapshot into S3 buckets.
Yeah, you can store EBS volume as a
Oh,
snapshot in S3 bucket.
cool, cool. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I'll also show you this thing. Okay, so this is a website, like this is a simple monthly calculator website. Amazon, like it is associated with Amazon. Amazon AWS also has its personal calculator, but that is much more complicated. This is much more easy to understand. You guys can see here we have got each and every service that Amazon has provided us. We have got EC2, S3, Route 53, CloudFront, RDS, Elastic Load Balancing, DynamoDB, Elastic Cache, CloudWatch, each and every service that Amazon has provided. So what we can do is we can like calculate the estimated price of the services that we are using. So in that way, you get the estimate price or estimate monthly bill or estimate bill, estimate idea of what you'll get billed after a month of using this much services. So this is the link. I'll paste this link in the group. Okay, so you guys can
Yeah.
access this link, and then you can calculate a how much you'll get, the estimate of how much you'll get charged or how much you'll get the bill of after using for services for 1 month. So this way we can create our own volume. We can attach our own like we can attach the external volume to a instance, EC2 instance. We can create snapshots as well. We can create our own AMI as well. So I think till now everyone is clear. Someone has wrote something. Okay, so Ravi is asking EBS volume store the snapshot file. Ravi, I have explained each and everything to Lukendra ji now. So if your doubt clear, or should I explain again? Okay, Ravi. Okay. So I think till now everyone is clear till now, like how to create how to launch an instance, what are the instance types, how we can create AMI and all. So like I have tried my best to make you guys understand what is there in EC2 instance. So I think everyone is understood till now. Please write in the chat box yes or no, so that I can. Okay, so we have got only this much for today, like because this is very important topic that we have covered today of EC2. Now, what we will do tomorrow? Like I'll give you a quick idea of what we will do tomorrow. So we will we'll launch an instance. We'll create our own AMI. We'll launch an instance with that AMI also. We'll create an EBS volume. I'll show you how to create the snapshot of that EBS volume. I'll also show you how you guys can allocate an Elastic IP. Elastic IP is basically you guys can get your own IP. So how you can allocate your Elastic IP to your instance, and then if we got the time at the end, then I'll show you how you guys can import your virtual machine from your on-premise computer to your AWS EC2 account. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you guys. Thank you for coming today. And the task, I'll be giving you the task on the group. So you'll get the task on the group for tomorrow. So make sure that you complete all your tasks for the tomorrow class. And we'll meet you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Alright.